Hey folks, right, it's been God knows how long since I've done the last video, probably nearly 2 years, so I thought finally back time to do one, especially there's been loads of changes, so here I am. I don't know the best way to do this, so we'll just start off at the back, and it's a nice cloudy day as well, which is a bit easy with the old camera. I'm using my phone, so it's not the best. Right. Really don't know where to start. So the back end has been getting a bit of a makeover. It's not done yet, far from it, but it's getting there. So putting a fence along the back, that's just to stop all the weeds. Well, it's a bit of a barrier at least. And I've started using the bathtubs a little bit more, acquired one more. I want a few more to go along here, and they'll be great for garlic and carrots and leeks. I'm doing leeks in there because there's quite a lot of rust I get here, so hopefully doing them in compost will alleviate those matters. That's just a corner of crap. I think everyone has a pile of crap at the allotment. That's just a load of pallets that need stripping down, and once they're stripped down they're going to be built into these. In fact, what's happening is I got the soil from these from Facebook, so it's not all that great, so I'm going to dig it out, strip them down. I'm going to rebuild them, but I'm going to build them a little bit longer, so they'll be from that pole there probably to about there, so they'll be 3 meters long. These are 2 meters long at the minute, and ideally I want 4 in a row, and they're going to be for my strawberries. So I've had to move them. They're currently in the main beds at the minute, but they're taking up a lot of space and I don't really want them to. So I've had to cut back on my potatoes this year to make space. I should have really cut back on my onions because I've planted far too many, which you'll see in a minute. So yeah, these are 1/2 meter wide, 2 meters long, so these will be perfect size for strawberries, and it's kind of keeping them out of the way. Once they finish fruiting, there's not much else you can do with them apart from pick up the runners. Right, also I've had some wood chip delivered finally. I just had another lot come through today, which is all this greeny stuff, so I've wasted no time getting that out. That's going to be a bit more of a job because it needs topping up already, because it does rot down really quickly. So in here are some carrots. I don't know what variety they are. I'll try and flash them up on the screen, but these are a really quick growing one, and they're really good for baby carrots. So I thought I'd rather wait months and months, just pick these much quicker. And the germination's been a bit patchy, but then again I'll blame it on the sandy soil. This is a giant pumpkin. This is a Atlantic giant that's just gone in last week, hence the mesh. It's really just to keep the wind off a little bit, because they do stress a little bit getting thrown around. So that's on there, and it'll be on there for another week or two till it starts reaching out. And also it does keep birds and bits off. Not that I have too many problems with them here. This is this year's garlic. It looks really pitiful, but actually when I pulled one out thinking I was going to just get rid of them all and start fresh, the bulb was actually pretty massive, so I'm going to just leave them. They did stress out really badly when they went in. They're really yellow, but they've picked up, which I put down to comfrey tea and liquid manure. So I got some 6X and diluted it into a big watering can, left it for a few hours to break down, and then watered it, and it seems to have picked up alright. I've got this garlic over here. This is autumn planted, and it's doing fab. It's getting to that point now where it's ready to be pulled in about 3 or 4 weeks. We'll just see. But yeah, I've had a little sneak peek, and they look pretty darn decent. And these are the ones from Wilco's. I don't get them from any seed catalogues. And I'll flash the names up on the screen. I can't remember. One of them is Germador, I think it's called. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I'll have a look online and see what the varieties are. But they're doing pretty decent actually. Probably the best garlic I've grown. We'll go this way. So yeah, this year we had so much rain, so much, and the problem with that was all down here. All at the back here was just literally a couple of inches underwater, and it knocked planting back by about 4 weeks easily, because it took forever to dry out. One of the reasons why I've made such an effort to get wood chip, because that's going to help absorb a lot of the moisture. This, I don't know what this is. I got given to me by my neighbour. I think it's like a loganberry, those massive really long blackberries. Not blackberries, yeah, blackberries. So we'll see, but this is its second year. and it's actually fruited. It didn't fruit last year, so I'm quite pleased with that for nothing, and it's pretty much spineless. Bit like a few of our politicians, but anyway. Grapes, they are probably not going to stay here. I might auction them off, see if anyone wants to buy them, because yeah, they're great, but I just don't. I bought them because they're cheap at Aldi. They did give me some grapes last year. In fact, this year there's quite a few little buds, and I'm not making wine out of them or anything. I just grew them for a laugh. But yeah, I think someone else would probably appreciate these. And anyway, the strawberry bed's going to be going this far anyway, so I'll have to put them along the back or against the fence on the other side. I'm not too sure. Right, on to my pride and joy. That is the brassica tent, cage, whatever you want to call it. So I had a polytunnel frame. It was one of those really, really cheap ones. You could buy them like £50–60 off eBay, and it's got like this horrible plastic coating that usually disintegrates after about a year. So I had the frame, and I was going to make a proper polytunnel, but by the time I priced it all up, I was like, yeah, I haven't got the money for that. So what I decided to do was, using some spare timber, these bits here, I extended the tunnel. So normally, this was only 3 meters long, but that wasn't long enough. I looked into buying new extra hoops and stuff, but that again was running into, a fair bit of money. So I thought I'll reuse these slats here, bolt them on, put the braces on, and it's actually pretty darn sturdy. I've not had any problems. What I've done is, in fact, we'll spin around, we'll go in. What's my thumb, so I'm not used to filming on my phone. That's like the door, and I'll just show you. It's basically like a pole, and it just basically lifts up to form the doorway. I'm really keen not to cut any of this. This is just debris netting, so everything's held together effectively by cable ties. So if I have to move or do anything with it, it's just I don't have to cut anything apart. I've not lost anything because the netting's not been damaged in any way. So yeah, I just bolted it through here. Just put some little bolts on these bits, and just put these braces on, and it's pretty darn sturdy. I've not had any problems with it, and I'm really, really pleased with it. And in here, what I've done is I've driven some of the spare poles. These are about 1 meter long, so it's a good ½ meter in the ground, and just use these hose things to join the two. So what I've got in here, whoops, try not to stand on anything, it's a bit tight. I've got purple sprouting broccoli. This is the extra early Rudolph, and looky here, that's the first of that. I've not grown this for years, so I'm actually quite excited about this lot. I've just started off the stuff that I plant in August, waiting for next year, so it's come a bit earlier. So I've just started off next year's Brussels sprouts. Put them in the corner because they're going to be there till New Year. These are cauliflowers, so I've just planted out some new ones here. One on the end and 2 there. I've never grown cauliflower before, so this is going to be quite interesting. Kale. Now this is Red Devil kale. Now at first I was effing and blinding about how crap it was. Still not overly fond of it, but actually I do like the look of it. It's that white fly. Oh, the little buggers. They found a way in. Well, I didn't expect them to stay away, to be honest. It's more about the birds and the butterflies I was really worried about. Okay, but if it carries on like this, it's actually quite nice. The problem with dwarf curly kale is you find like all the white fly get up on all the little gaps, and it's a real faff having to get into it and wash it all up. And I don't like that. The standard kale, I can't remember the name of it. I'll flash it up on screen, but I don't really like that one. I've tasted this one; it tastes really, really good. That one's not doing very well at all. I've planted a few more in the greenhouse, hoping they'll catch up really, really quickly because it's so warm. That's my greyhound cabbage. It is tightly. I've tightly sown it, but all I'll do is I'll just harvest the middle ones first to give the rest a bit of space. So yeah, it's just like a simple doorway. In fact, I'm going to lock it up now for the night. Let me just do that. A bit of a brick just to stop the breeze pushing it, but yeah, that's the gap. Nothing's going to fly in through that, so it's pretty safe and sound. Right, beans. Oh, these went in, and I've had to pull a couple because they've died. not really happy at all. Really yellow, but however the new growth has started to come through nice and lush. Again, I gave it some manure feed, liquid manure. I've got some more in the greenhouse as well as a backup sowing. So yeah, hopefully these are Armstrong and Cobra, or Cobra, I don't know how you pronounce it. So I've got broad bean and I've got French climbing bean. Right, so this is the main part of the plot as it is now, so looking nice and tidy. Chard, I'm going to put some other bits in there. I've got some lettuce to go out and some spinach. These are my eating pumpkins. These are actually a carving one. They're not really designed, well, they are designed for eating, but primarily for carving, because my favourite variety, which is New England pie, all the seeds got eaten by mice, the little bastards. So I had to quickly run out and get some new ones. And I wasn't paying £2 postage to get seeds off in, so I just went to Wilco's. Rhubarb doing dreadfully, because this was one of the parts of the plot that was underwater for about 3 weeks. And there's poor plants, they come above ground, but then it was literally, it was pretty much 2 inches all along here. So yeah, a bit sad about that. So hopefully it catches up. I'm going to be quite cheesed off if not, because everyone else's rhubarb is looking amazing and mine just looks horrific. Blueberries, I'm about to give up on these. We've not done anything for 3 years. This one did have some flowers on it, but again, nothing's happened. So we will see. Again, it could be because of the excessive water, but yeah. Or the fact they only cost me like 99p a plant, maybe a factor. I was going to do some planting in here, put some more fruit in, maybe some raspberries, but again, this was just waterlogged. You can kind of see the moss next door. That's how wet it gets down this bit. So I'm going to have to rethink. Might even build some standing compost bins. Really not too sure what to do with this bit. Right. What else to do? What else to show? Right. Here's my strawberries. So I had to move these out from where they were before. I'll explain why in a minute. So we're taking up quite a lot of space. So these are all going to go up at the end. And that's going to be done. The second these are finished fruiting, sorry. I've just picked a whole load. And these are, without doubt, the best strawberries you'll ever taste. They're called Marshmallow. I think you get them from Marshalls, I think. I've not seen them advertised anywhere else. They are absolutely amazing. Albeit, they do have quite a short harvest period. They kind of like, you get a mountain of them and they all bugger off again. In fact, is that one down there? Have I missed one? Nope. That's something that's gone in and had its dinner on that one. Sweet corn, my old favourite lark, can't go wrong. These were grown in root trainers. They just love it. They just go hit the ground running. Really would recommend that variety. It just seems to do so well. And you tend to get 2 lots of corn per plant, typically. Last year I had 50 plants and some of them had 3. So it was, unfortunately some went to rot before we could eat it all. Right, onions. Let me just talk quickly about these. So I did an experiment, and that's actually kind of 2 experiments in one. So these are my red, and these were runners put in directly to ground, and they were done probably about 6 weeks ago. I can't remember, but they were not too long ago. And these are my whites, which were done in modules and started off in February. Now, up to this line here, over to there, that was given quite a liberal feed of onion fertiliser. These were not. This was just blood, fish and bone in this section, and that was proper onion fertiliser. And you can kind of see the growth difference. So it's just an experiment to see if it really does make much of a difference, and that's why I'm getting poor harvest from the onions. And I was also quite interested between the difference between directly sown and transplanted, and I'm only seeing a couple of inches difference. And I think for the effort it takes modelling them all up and then transplanting them out, I'm going to just go with direct sowing. I gave the ground a really good tilling and they just plopped in. It was so straightforward. Whereas these, you have to kind of dig a little hole, plant them in, earth them up, a real faff, and then they have a bit of a hissy fit because, you know, the roots are a little bit bound up, and yeah. So that's it for now. I'm not going to be doing plugs. These are my peas. doing really nicely. These got massacred last year, so I'm going with a different method. I've grown in between runs of netting, so I've got some nice bits of timber, so that's ready. I'm just waiting for some more of this netting to come through, which is exactly the same height as these posts, so that'll make it much easier, because trying to cut this stuff into metre lengths, nightmare. I mean in terms of height, not length. So they're doing really nicely, and these are Kelvin and Wonder, can't go wrong. So I've got one more set of posts here ready, and then I'm going to do 2 more here. My Swede, these have just gone out today. The camera can't seem to pick up what I'm actually pointing at, so that's doing really nicely. Got another set of seedlings fattening up at home, so they'll come out in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to stagger the planting on these a little bit. Potatoes, this was an experiment again, because I made a mistake of forgetting to order my seed potato. Not only did I forget to order it from the club, I forgot to put this the order in when I ordered my seeds for the year. So I was like, damn it, I'm not paying an extra £5 postage, because it was one of these free postage weekends. So I went into the greenhouse, well, shed, sorry, and I picked 20 nice looking potatoes from last year's harvest, and I chitted them and I planted them, and I'm pretty impressed, saying this didn't cost me anything. So these 2 rows are Sarpo Axano or Exano, I don't know how on earth you pronounce it, and these are the Blue Danubes. I didn't have to label them because Blue Danube is so bloody obvious, because it has quite a blue, dark, purplish stem, and when you lift them it's indistinguishable. It's really hard because they're blue and purple skins, so it's not too hard. This is the last year though I'm doing them directly in the ground, because it's such a ball ache with this soil, this particular soil anyway, because it's heavy clay. Forking it, running a tiller through it, digging out your trench, planting them and earthing them up. No, I'm going to just do them in buckets. It's more expensive, but you save space, you get a better harvest. You just got to remember to water them to avoid getting any scab. Parsnips, mixed bag here, so I've used the method of a bit of downpipe. So what you do, you pull your pipe in each spot that you want. So this is all tilled and run over. It's a little bit weedy, I do need to go in, but I need to get the board and my razor hoe, because I'll just clear this in about a minute. It's all just surface weed anyway, so it just all pops out. It's not all that problematic really. Bloody bindweed. So yeah, so cut these into about 2-inch lengths. In fact, I might be able to squeeze this one off now, because this is going good. 2-inch lengths, you plop them where you want each one. Then you put 4 or 5 seeds in each module. Cover with some vermiculite or compost, I use vermiculite, and leave it. And then ideally what will happen is, because you get about a 1 in 5 germination rate anyway of these, each little spot should have a parsnip. So it's about not 50%, I'd say about 55-60% of them have come through. Annoyingly, all those haven't come through. Might be something to do with soil, because they're all in the same place, I don't know. But, nearly dropped my phone. But if you look here, I've got, in fact I'm going to thin this out. Got 1, 2, let's not kill, 3, oh no, that's not 3, that's the 3rd. Oh look, little parsnip. 4. So all 5 of them germinated in that module. I'll call it a module for now. How annoying is that? This is just full of weeds, this one. Let's just lift those out. Maybe it's a market for micro parsnips. Maybe I'm onto something there, because that does look damn cute. Anyway, back to reality. Let me just get this weed out. Ugh. Don't damage your bloody parsnip. So yeah, you can see the seeds here just haven't germinated. It's really annoying. So yeah, and then the idea is, once they're well established, but not too well established that you can't get it out, you just lift off the little tube, and underneath, there we go. Is that 2? Is that 2 or is that 1? I can't tell. Yeah, that's 2. Let's just pull you out gingerly. There we go. Don't forget, if you're going to use this method, to take these off, because last year I forgot. So all my parsnips had like a really straight neck, but the problem was water would accumulate in there and it wouldn't disappear. So all the tops of my parsnips were rotted. Cut it off, it was fine, but you're losing like an inch off your parsnips. That's the best bit, 'cause that's the fattest bit. So yeah, make sure these come off, which I will do. This bloody bindweed is doing my head in. And talking about bindweed, that's why I had to redo the whole raspberry bed. Is that going to focus? Yeah, there we go. So this was half strawberries, half raspberries, but the problem was the bindweed was just horrific. I got a really poor harvest, it was just coming up everywhere, the raspberries were getting just torn to pieces by it. So what I did was I lifted up all the raspberries and then very patiently dug through 4 times working, and I just pulled out bags of bindweed, burn it all to hell, and redug it again, and then just put the raspberries in. Made a bit more of a better support system. It does need tightening up though, and planting them back in. And yeah, they've kind of not come back very strongly, but they have got some green growth, so hopefully that's all going to come back pretty soon. And whilst I was talking, I spotted some bindweed and I can't see it now. Let's go around this side. Right, this is like part of a wood chip that's arrived. That's the stuff today, so I'm pretty chuffed with that. That's gonna do me well. Oh, new composting bin. That was built out of hundreds of slats of pallets. Right, here we go. Oh, gotta be careful. I'm next to the comfrey and the bumblebees love it. And so sometimes I do run the risk of getting my arse stung. Yeah, this is why bindweed's such a bitch, because it just wraps itself around. If I just yank this off, if this was full of fruit or flowers, it would just rip them off with it because it's so tightly bound. Ugh, it's the bane of my life. So yeah, these plants haven't quite bounced back as quick as I hoped, but if you just look at the soil, it's cracked. I just don't think we're getting enough water. It's been so dry, so hopefully what I'll do is, when this wood chip's rotting down much better, I'll actually mulch this quite heavily, and hopefully retain a bit of the moisture in the soil. Built this little fence here. I'm quite a fence builder, it would seem, and this is to keep the comfrey on that side, because what it tends to do is flop over here, and it's really irritating, especially when you're coming down here. You get it on your legs and it's really, really itchy, and also you get all the bumblebees, as you can see. Oh, there was a few there anyway. There they are. You get all the bumblebees hanging about, and I have been stung because I've kind of knocked into it, and they were busy harvesting. So this is brilliant. I do like the fact that it attracts so many bees. There's probably about a dozen I can see right now. Jesus, that's a real fat one over here. Let's see if I can get him before he flies off. That's a decent bumblebee. I like it when they're so big you can actually see their eyes and everything. It's kind of focus on the right thing. There we go. That is so cool. Nothing funnier than a fat bumblebee. I just don't get it. Ooh. Let's move you out of the way, plant. Where have you gone? There you go. Look at that. I've got to be so careful because they're all buzzing around me. Right, on that note, I'm going to say cheerio. I'm going to leave you with this big fat bumblebee, and I'll catch you soon, and I'll hopefully do an update in a couple of weeks. Speak soon.